Hello all. So this is the module number 2, part 2. So in the module number 1 we had seen about various energy resources and also what are the various or in detail study of what are the renewable resources and non-renewable resources. So renewable, hydropower, tidal, solar, etc. So all was dealt in detail, their advantages and their disadvantages. So this is the part 2 of module 2. So this completes the module number 2, right? So however, the classes which you get will be always less, so even the syllabus is also very less as of now. And yeah, and one thing what I had seen is that people are not watching the complete video, and the watch time hours which I get is some 200 to 300 views. In that, 12% might have seen the full video, that is 35 to 40 people would have seen the complete video. So if I say it properly, that means I'm not getting 175 hours of watch hours. Okay, fine, I'll not force into anything unless and until you are answering the quiz, right? Please answer the quiz in given time, right? So in this video, in middle of the video, I'm going to ask a question, and that question's answer you have to say it in the quiz, right? Okay, so module number 2. So first main topic in module number 2 part 2 is disaster management. So there is a saying, right, that is prevention is better than cure. So in the same way, before it happens, we have to sometimes look after that, how we can prevent something bad which can happen, right? So how to know if a disaster will happen in an area? By its history. So for example, in Japan and all, there will be always earthquakes, so they do something called as disaster management. So in this beautiful picture, as you can see, what is disaster management? It is nothing but preparedness for the disaster and also reducing the risk of disaster. So we know that there will be a disaster which is coming in soon. So at that time, what can we do? Let it be prepared. So we have to be prepared, and we should not panic. And if we panic, there will be unnecessary tensions. So we should prepare, and also we should see how much we can reduce the risk of that disaster. So there will be a disaster, so that red line what you can see over there. So after that disaster, we have to be responding to the disaster. So once it is happened, we should not be like, okay, disaster has happened, what can we do? We can't do that. So we have to respond to it by helping others, and also we have to reduce the risk of disaster in the coming days, and also we have to recover from the disaster. So step by step, this is the general outline of disaster management. What can be done, what cannot, what shouldn't be done. And as you can see, we have to be prepared and we have to reduce the risk. In detail study of disaster management we will come to know in the coming slides. So disaster management, as per the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, defines disaster management as the organization and management of resources and responsibilities for dealing with all the humanitarian aspects for emergencies, in particular preparedness, response, and recovery, in order to lessen the impact of disasters. So disaster has happened, but we should see how much we can lessen its effects. Okay, the consequences, whatever has happened, it has to be decreased. Right, so disaster management. What is disaster management? Act before, during, and after disaster strike, often providing assistance in some of the world's most hostile environments. So that is what it is. We should be, having a helping hand. We should always help in such areas. Don't worry, no need to go for you. There are agencies, or there are federations which do the disaster management. So disaster management activities seek to save lives and reduce human suffering, right? Protect and restore livelihoods, reduce the risk faced by communities affected by disaster and conflict. So once there is a disaster, there will always be conflict, because people will be losing homes, people will be losing their shelter. So there is a lot of conflict which will be always going on. So disaster, it is natural disaster, and also there is man-made disaster. Right. So the thing about natural disaster is that even biological, warfare or biological pandemics is also kind of a disaster. So we are as of now living in a pandemic, and WHO is always trying to minimize the uh, risk of this disaster. I don't know whether it is doing a good job or not, but COVID-19, it could stay up to 2 years also. So whether natural or man-made, children are the most vulnerable when a disaster strikes. More than half of the people who are affected by disaster are children. So it is our calling to protect the well-being of children affected by disaster. So as you can see over here, disaster management, you can't see the slides or notes in the textbook or anywhere. So I suggest you to better watch this video fully, because this topic is covered nowhere. And also I had taken some of the latest slides or latest information. So disaster management 2020 is our child focused disaster management strategy designed to meet the needs of world's most vulnerable children. So our areas that we should focus must include basically on early warning. So first thing is that early warning has to be there. So our teams, or what we should do is that monitor signals and indicators of both natural and man-made threats. This information warns of emerging events such as typhoons, flooding, and the precursors of famine and stringing of conflict, so we can anticipate and reduce the impact of humanitarian emergency. So we should always see that we should always give a early warning. So if you might have seen a talk of Bill Gates in, I guess, 2012 or 14, I'm not sure about the date. He had told about the next big thing that could eradicate, or it could give a lot of suffering to the human beings. That would not be a nuclear disaster, but it could be a virus. He had already told, he had anticipated that. He is a he is a kind of intellectual, and he told about this, but still in 2020 we are actually facing an pandemic. So next, after the early warning, what we can do is disaster risk reduction we can do. So through proper training and planning, we can help minimize the loss to children and families when a disaster strikes. So we should work with families and individuals, as well as local, national and international partners across the world, to ensure communities are aware of the risks they face and how properly prepare and respond in the event of an emergency. Right. So when we are prepared, we get less tension. So when we are not prepared, we don't know what to do. So technically or basically, if you can say, when the pandemic hit the world, so it was epidemic, that is, it was only for one area, then it became pandemic because of the airlines. Prime example or prime cause was actually that if there were strict uh, rules in the borders, this wouldn't have happened. This is what I personally feel. Okay, so from China, it spread across all the nations. So in the beginning, nobody knew what to do. What is coronavirus? So what can be done? So let's do lockdown. So lockdown, it is still continuing, but it doesn't have any significant effect on the lives of people. It is spreading. So we Indians are, however, there are some people who never wear mask or so. Okay, fine. Will not dig into that. So we didn't know what to do. So that's why there was so many number of lockdowns, and now it is unable to. We are not able to control. So the government has, primary plans. It has been failed because this pandemic, whatever is there, it was new to everyone. Nobody knew what to do. So whatever did in the first place, whatever was done in the beginning, they seem that it was right. So next time when pandemic happens, God forbid that it not happen, but we will be prepared. So that's what. So one has to be planned. Proper planning should be there. So everyone has to work with the local, national, and international partners to ensure that communities are aware. So now people are aware to certain extent. So it spreads fast through the droplets of humans, right? And people with asthma or any other diabetic cases, they will be more susceptible to coronavirus. Other than that, if their immunity is great, nothing would actually happen. It's more or less something like a influenza virus, right? So our programs are designed to eliminate or mitigate hazards, or we should program and design to eliminate hazards within their risk, within their control, increase community resilience, and provide training in disaster risk reduction. Okay, so the third step, activities aim to. So these are the activities that should aim to reduce vulnerabilities, right? So that is include physical, social, and economic and environmental factors that increase susceptibility, lessen the impacts of natural and man-made conditions to have an potential to adversely impact the lives and livelihood of communities, right? So we should lessen the impact, develop and enhance the capacity of individuals, communities, and institutions to reduce the risk and build up of resilience. So there should be uh, there should be no restriction. It should not backfire you, right? So the better the capacity, the more the resilient to risk. So next one, we should be prepared. So there should be preparedness. So in addition to helping communities and families prepare for disaster, our own preparedness means to be we are ready to help the communities when the disaster strikes, right? So stores of relief items are maintained in most of the countries where we work. So disaster management people that they are saying, so where we work, and in strategically located disaster response warehouses. So they mainly include trampolines, household kits, water carriers, reliable access to emergency food supplies, water purification tables, shelter material, cooking utensils, and blankets. So as of now, as you can see, all these things are basic necessities, and now even internet has become a basic necessity. So all the basic necessities should be always in hand. We should always be prepared. So next point is response. So when a disaster hits, there should be response, right? So our global rapid response team or a team of disaster management must bring together international disaster experts from around the world who are deployed within hours of major emergency to support local teams and communities. So our, that is our in the sense, actually it is a disaster management in that context I'm speaking about. So our global pre-positioning resource network, that is GPRN, ships in emergency supplies strategically located in 4 warehouses across the globe. So these are the basic necessities. So GPRN team also provides other world vision, staff and visibility items, vehicles and field communications equipment. Right, short-term funding for emergency responses is also made available through our emergency preparedness response fund. So there should be a fund that has to be included. So disaster management, as I told you, there is no notes or there is no material. So I can confidently say that this is one of the people who do the disaster management, and I have took the liberty to uh, take them as a case study. So in this case study, this is our what they are doing. Those are the main key points what I had highlighted. So early warning they do, right? So early warning, disaster risk reduction, and also aim to reduce various vulnerabilities. They are uh, prepare they are prepared for the disaster management, and also they have a response team. So this is more or less a case study, right? So that you can understand the theory part behind it. So GPRN team also provides other world vision staff with visibility items, vehicles and field communications equipment. Short-term funding for emergency responses is also made available through our emergency preparedness response fund until other funds including government grants and public appeals become available. In a large-scale response, we collaborate with the United Nations and other local aid agencies. This collaboration helps avoid duplication, minimize efficiencies, ensure all needs are met and eliminate gaps in humanitarian response. So United Nations, UNESCO, and I had seen some of the people are doing some internship in IMUN, I guess. I would be always seeing some of the posts in LinkedIn and all. Yeah, that is good. So that is everything. It is about the sustainability. Good internship, that is great. Right, so next, recovery. We focus on the number of areas to help children and families in their recovery following a disaster. So water and sanitation, health and nutrition, food, child protection, education for children, shelter, humanitarian protection and humanitarian advocacy. So water and sanitation, health and nutrition, food, child protection, education for children are the epitome of care that one has to give. Right, so that is all about disaster management, right? So my question for you people for the assignment is, so this is my question. This question I will ask in the coming assignment quiz, attendance quiz. That is, my question is that, do you think that the Nepal disaster, whatever happened, was a man-made disaster or was it a natural cause? Right? So Nepal, there is a conspiracy theory saying that due to the China is building a number of dams for their own profit, for their own greed. So because of that construction of dam, the water pressure in turn has increased, and due to that there was an earthquake in Nepal, because Nepal is not a earthquake prone area, but there was a earthquake in the year 2015 or 16, I guess. So was that, what do you think about that? Was that a you know was that a man-made disaster, that is, was it made because of China, or was it a natural disaster? Right, so fine. No need to comment below in the YouTube section, right? Just answer in the quiz. So next topic what we are going into is sustainable mining. So the goal of this report, again I would like to take a case study kind of a thing to explain the theoretical part. So in a sustainable mining, the goal is actually of this report, or one of the reports, is to evaluate the mining life cycle process and apply the natural step and system thinking model to create sustainable practices within the mining industry. So if a typical case study it was seen in sustainable mining, what we can derive from it, right? So first thing is that as you can see, sustainable mining practices, mining the minerals, and it should always have some consequences. Always mining will have some consequences to social, environment, and economy. So as you can see over there, photos of social life, there is environment, and there is economy. As you can see the photos over there. So economy and social go hand in hand with collaboration, shared vision, and there should be transparency in oversight. Right, next, economy and environment go hand in hand with collaboration, transparency, that is, they all are a cycle and there should be transparency, right? So that it should be transparent, and whatever is done for the well-being of social life should also give profit to the economy, and whatever the well-being of economy has been going, it should profit the environment, right? So sustainable mining, so as you can see in the slide itself, there is no one definition of sustainability that has been universally adopted by mining industry. Some of the useful description include, so miners can achieve sustainable development by embracing the social, environmental, and economic pillars. So that was said by James in 1999, right? Sustainable mining definition in his words, or he had quoted what I can say. Also, Lebanon in 1999 also said that offsetting or reinvesting the benefits from depleting mineral asset, right? So that was told by Lebanon in 1999, or Eggert in 2006 had told the simultaneous pursuit of sustained or enhanced environmental quality, economic growth, and social justice. So, as you can see, the definitions as per three people have quoted, the figure itself explain all of those, right? So that was a simple figure. So we can also see one more figure over here. So economically, a mining is done for what? Mining is done for extraction of ore and extraction of minerals and resources, but at what cost? So we can't go on mining, right? So there should be, we should think about nature also. So that is the main thing. So as you can see, there should be economic feasible. So it should be economically feasible, ecologically viable, socially desirable, and that all the three meets at a point that should be having a sustainable solution. So as you can see, this was in the ASMR newsletter in 2012. So one of the latest sustainable mining figures, as we could say. So economically feasible means what? So it should provide profit and benefit use resource efficiently and internalize environmental and social cost, right? Ecologically viable means restore ecosystem and service it provides. So if there is a deforestation, there should be afforestation, right? If it is a reserve forest, there should be care should be taken, right? So on and so forth. Socially desirable, so that means engage neighbors, respect property, culture, and safety, follow spirit and letter of law, contribution to communities, right? So economically a sustainable mining should always see three things, that is economically feasible, ecologically viable, and socially desirable. All the three should meet the needs. So even one more photo of sustainable mining, how to achieve, we can say, or we can see in detail. That is, so whenever a sustainable mining or sustainability comes into picture, we have to see three things, that is economic value, environmental value and social values. So economic, social and environmental. So economic, what are the things that comes under economic? Water, cost, operational excellence, license to operate, socio-economic, you know, categories. Environmental, what are the things it comes? Water, again, land, air and also quality of life, right? Social, again, quality of life, health and safety and socio-economic scenarios. So this is a well detailed slide. So sustainable mining, how can be done? So the first question what we could get is that the what, when, how and who of sustainability mining. So the framework of a sustainable mining is that, so what is sustainable mining? So they are impact drivers. So what processes are driving environmental and social impact? So what are the processes due to the mining it is happening? Next is who. So implementation team. So who are doing this sustainable mining? That would be the next question. So who should be the part of team or drive lasting impact? Next, when. So impact phase. So when can sustainability or sustainable mining that can be done? So when at which mining phase can we expect the various types of impact to occur, right? And how. So implement levers. So how do you mitigate an environmental or social impact? So impact has been done, but how can we mitigate that? So sustainability in mining industry, as you can see in this beautiful slide. So there are 80% who develop practices based on common sense in response to particular context. So how can sustainability mining can be done? By common sense. So if we do this, can this happen? If we don't do this, can this happen? So common sense, which is not so common, it should be used, right? So results in good work, but generally not benchmarked to an international standards and can be highly variable in the quality of both delivery and outcomes. Various people think in various directions, so it is not internationally accepted, right? So that is in sustainable mining 80% can be done with the common sense, but 15% can be done. So the 15% who are well managed, reporting material issues, showing improvements and are recognized as leaders. So they have a certain, you know, uh, quality checking process, so well established with good management, leading of a team can be done, right? And only a 5% of segment who want to avoid sustainable development issues, so they don't even want that sustainability concept. So that is a bad thing actually, right? So as you can see in this picture, it is a well detailed, you know, graph of sustainable mining, right? So minerals or natural deposits we will have. So mining processes, there will be mining of those ores, right? So minerals in tailings, minerals in recycling, minerals in landfill, minerals use. So there will be mining cycles. So because of that, there will be degradation in environmental quality and human health. So mining cycle, at the time of cycling or mining life cycle, what are the things that we come to know? They are rate of energy use, product demand and recycling rate, how much energy is used for mining, that is blasting, etc., right? Product demand, what is the demand of product? Next is recycling rate, so how much it is recycled. So environmental quality at the time of mining, that is what about the air pollution, land pollution and water pollution, Next, human health, what will happen to the person who is in the mining area? So physical, mental and cultural. So this is a cycle. So all these three are regulated by government, community, operation, supply, market and cost. So regulation, shared vision, transparency, collaboration, oversight and life cycle budgeting. So there are regulations that we have to take into consideration, right? So management, reporting, funding, legislation, enforcement, labor, market demand, communication, chemical process and natural disaster. So all these things, it will give up or give birth to sustainable mining practices. So this is all a cycle. Sustainable mining must and should be incorporated everywhere. Right, so that was about sustainable development or sustainable mining, to be precise. Next, cloud seeding. So cloud seeding was tested in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka also. So what do you mean by cloud seeding? That is nothing but artificial, you know, creation of rain wherever there is, huge, um, huge scarcity of water, and also there is drought. So what is cloud seeding? Cloud seeding is a kind of weather modification technology to create artificial rainfall. Right? So this has happened. This was a concept during the 1930s, right? 1930s and 1940s. It's an old technique. So it works only when there is enough pre-existing clouds in the atmosphere. So there is clouds, but there is no rainfall because of the temperature. There is no condensation of water to an extent of rainfall. So what can be done? We can artificially condense or change the weather and we can create rainfall. So rain happens when moisture in the air reaches levels at which it can no longer be held. So just now I told. So the cloud seeding aims to facilitate and accelerate that process by making available chemical nuclei around which condensation can take place. Right. So these seeds of rain can be the iodides of silver or potassium, or even called as dry ice, that is solid carbon dioxide or liquid propane. So as you can see over here, iodides of silver or potassium, or even carbon dioxide or propane, silver, potassium, propane, all those things are heavy metals, right? So they might also give rise to chemical degradation, right? So these are always man-made things, are not always 100% safe. So fine, the seeds, they have found out the formula. So these seeds can be delivered by plane or simply spraying from the ground. So those whatever the things are over there, it should have it should reach the clouds, right? So that there will be condensation. So how it can be done? So we have methodologies. We will see that in the next slide. So cold cloud seeding, there is one thing called as cold cloud seeding. So it consists of dry ice seeding, that is dry ice means dry carbon dioxide, and one more is silver iodide seeding. So what is dry ice seeding? So as you can see the figure over there, there is a plane over there and it is spraying the dry ice to the clouds and we get rainfall, right? So yes, it remains as it is at even 80 degrees centigrade and evaporates, but it does not melt. So it is called as dry ice. So artifacts are commonly used for cloud seeding with dry ice. Aircrafts flies across the top of cloud, and 0.5 to 1 centimeter dry ice pellets are released in a steady stream. So they are released. So while falling through the cloud of sheet of ice, crystals are formed. right? So from these ice crystals there will be rain. So this method is not economical, as 250 kg of dry ice is required for seeding just one cloud. So this method can be done, but it is not economical. So what is the next thing that can be done? That is silver iodide seeding. So minutes or minute crystal of silver iodide produced in form of smoke acts as efficient ice forming nuclei at temperature below minus 5 degrees Celsius. Right, silver iodide atomic arrangement is similar to that of ice. So that's nice. So therefore it is the most efficient substance. So the release of silver iodide smoke into supercooled cloud from an aircraft, right, it is more effective than that of dry ice because it requires less amount of silver iodide compared to carbon dioxide. So those were the two, dry ice seeding and silver iodide seeding. Silver iodide seeding is better. Next topic, that is warm cloud seeding, right? So warm, so first one is cold, second one is warm. So water drop seeding. Next, common salt seeding. So what is that? We will see. So water drop seeding. So coalescence process is mainly responsible for growth of raindrops in warm cloud, right? So water drops of 25 mm are sprayed from aircraft at a rate of 30 gallons per seeding of warm clouds. So water drop itself of 25 mm, that is 2.5 centimeter, it is sprayed in to the warm clouds. So water droplets of large hygroscopic nuclei are introduced to the cloud so that we get the rain. Next one, or the last one, is common salt seeding. So common salt is a suitable seeding material for seeding warm clouds. So however, salt is present everywhere, right? So in the sea water. So earth is a blue planet and we can mine the salt and we can start rainfall. It's a great, one of the best thing about common salt, and it's even tasty. So it is used either in form of 10% solution or solid. So the spraying is done by power sprayers and air compressors. So the balloon burst technique is also beneficial. So that's all. So common salt is taken into consideration. Right, so next and the last topic is that very small topic, carbon mining. So carbon mining build technology for us for the direct use to capture carbon dioxide directly from the atmosphere at low cost and transform that carbon dioxide into graphene products. So that's all about the carbon mining. So there is a lot of carbon dioxide present over here, right? So because of that, carbon mining can be done and it can be usefully made into graphene or graphite. So the next big thing after stainless steel. So stainless steel was introduced nearly 100 of years ago, and there is 60 years ago, I guess. So after that, no big metal or uh, any steel had come out. So next big thing could be graphite or graphene, right? So anyone can produce because its structure is very rigid, right? Many of the scientific researchers have been going on in graphene, right? So that is how about carbon mining. So it will be captured, and because of tremendous pressure, it will be converted into useful product. So carbon is very important thing in life, but more of that has been let into the atmosphere. Because of that there is so many ill effects of carbon dioxide, but we can change that by carbon mining also. So we have reached the end of document. So this is the end of module number 2.